I'm actually getting a notification that Noah Bennett is wanting to come into the chat.
There he is.
There we go.
There he is. Okay. Hey, Noah.
Hey, Noah.
Hey, I'm sorry, am I interrupting something?
We were just in the middle of something. Hey, I'm Canaan Coffman, here to welcome you to another episode of Chatting with the Chosen. Today with us, we have Austin Stumvoll and Jeremy Gauna, who are both involved on the locations department on set of The Chosen. Hi, guys. I'm so happy you could join us at Against the Tide today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We have all kinds of ground to cover today, but first, I want to share who is who and your official job title with The Chosen. So, Austin, if you want to go first, that would be great.
Yeah, my name's Austin. I was on season 2. I was the locations manager for the first half of shooting up at Goshen, Utah at Goshen Studios.
That is so cool. Jeremy?
My name is Jeremy J.P. Gauna. I am the locations assistant. Basically, everything from where Austin stopped working on up until from that point beyond was where I joined on. So I just missed working with Austin on The Chosen, barely. On season 2.
Oh, man. Do you think y'all will be able to work together on season 3 at all?
It has to happen. It has to. Some way, one way or another.
It has to happen eventually. However, I do have a couple of questions actually for Jeremy once we get rolling here.
Yeah.
When I was packing up all of our equipment in Utah at the end of the shoot, I was doing it in the middle of a sandstorm.
Yeah.
Like literally had goggles on so I could see. And I'm like, I wonder whoever's going to unpack this, how much sand they're going to find. Like
That's
mixed in with everything.
From.
That's right.
That's
wow.
amazing.
like literally I couldn't see more than a couple of feet. And
it's like a Mad Max episode, huh?
Yeah, we had to leave at a certain time, right? So it's like this stuff has to be packed up. It has to be cleaned. It has to be ready to go.
Okay.
Lo and behold, look off to the horizon and the sky is just turning brown and it's moving towards the end. You're going, well,
that's bizarre because
whoever unpacks this is probably going to have some questions. Yeah.
Where the sand came from. Now we know why everything was so dirty.
That's amazing.
I'm like, because like when you're done with like locations, right? Or like any department, you're packing stuff up, cleaning it, putting it away for the next person to get it. And hopefully, you're setting them up for success by having it clean. Sure. And I'm like, oh, these guys are going to be like, where did this sand come from? Why is there sand everywhere? Why is there sand in everything?
Everything.
Yeah, now you know why. Literally,
that's a funny story, though. It's funny to put the two together for sure.
It blew for 12 hours. So it was like,
that is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Okay, well, I want to just get the ball rolling with some of these questions. So we kind of already settled this, but just say for the viewers how long you all have been working with The Chosen.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah. I've been working since season 2, since they moved back to the Texas locations. And then from that point on, I even helped with the Christmas Chosen special, so the music special.
Awesome.
So that was something to be part of. I'm surprised that me and Austin didn't cross paths up there because I was up there as well, back up in Utah.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually based out of Austin, Texas right now.
Oh, wow. Well,
that's where that's where I'm based out of. Okay. But not for much longer. I'll be a nomad here eventually. Yeah. For me, so I started on season 1. The first half of season 1, we shot, I think it was like the 3 episodes or 4 episodes prior to Christmas. And I shot that. And then I moved on to another show. I wasn't there for the second half of season 1. Kind of the same thing happened with season 2. Mm-hmm. So the first season I was office PA and moved up to assistant to the production coordinator. So it was just an office job,
So cool. So how did you guys both hear about the show? Was it the job listing or somebody said, hey, you need to check this out? What was that like?
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, Austin, you go. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I had just finished off like a Kendrick movie, and at that time I was based in Atlanta. So I went back to Atlanta, and I was there for I don't know, maybe a week or so, and I got a phone call from Justin Tolley, who's a wine producer and producer in the faith-based, family-friendly film of TV and film. And he said, "Hey, man, they're needing some office help down in Texas on this TV show called The Chosen." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds good. I'll go do that." And so Renee called me and interviewed me and brought me down, which is a good thing because that's where I met my wife, Molly. I met her on day one of shooting, and it was awesome. So
That's
there's
so
a lot
cool.
That's awesome.
There's a lot to The Chosen than just the paycheck and showing up to make something faith-based. It was like I don't know, my whole life changed because of it. So that was kind of fun.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's the best. Jeremy, what was your experience like?
That's fantastic, man. That's good for you. I haven't met her yet. Maybe I'll find her on The Chosen one day.
Not yet.
I'm just kidding.
Not yet. This next season. This next season is just around the corner, man.
We still got a couple more seasons, man. We're good.
Oh,
There's time.
Yeah.
For me, I'm an actor first. I've done a lot of things in the film industry as far as being on camera and not so much behind camera. And in this case, my buddy Willie, I worked with him on Washington's Armor. It's coming out soon. We've done some other projects together, me and Willie. We kind of built a good, strong bond, a good friendship. And he knows, I consider myself to be a hard worker and a quick learner. So Willie had an opportunity with The Chosen here in Midlothian, and I'm currently living and staying in Midlothian. So it just worked out at a time where neither one of us were really getting work. It was kind of slow. Willie hit me up. I'm telling you, it's just divine intervention. It was supposed to happen at this point in time. Willie, knew that I was local. I was able to work. I was able to show up, be on time. I'm accountable. So all those things led up to a great opportunity with The Chosen, at least when they started filming here in Midlothian. And now they can't get rid of me. They literally cannot get rid of me because we just have such a good family relationship. Every single person from top to bottom. It's just to describe the feeling to you on a project as far as like working like this, there's no greater feeling of like accomplishment because you know what product you're putting out and you know the meaning and the benefits of everybody else watching this and how it impacts their lives. And it's just like, how can you not feel good and want to be a part of this project? If you don't, then hey, to each his own, but I'll tell you this much, you're missing out on some good stuff, some quality, great stuff.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because when you watch behind the scenes videos and everything like that, that's exactly how it looks. So to hear that firsthand from you guys, that is great. My next question was, what are some things that people would not realize are part of your position for the show? Because this is something for me that I am pretty green about. I don't know much about locations. It seems like a pretty general thing, but I know that there's a lot more that goes into it than meets the eye. So what is something that nobody would realize?
I know Austin has a way better understanding and with obviously more experience. I can tell you Austin will make the game plan. His position will make the game plan of the things we need to do. And I basically am the muscle, so to say, the one that gets it done, the one that goes out and he basically leads and I follow. So if there's, for example, one of the things that I do real fast, I'll tell you is we have animals on set sometimes. Sometimes, animals use the restroom. So it's my responsibility to make sure, along with a couple other people, it's my responsibility to make sure the set's clean of any restroom use. Let's just say that. So there's certain things like that, along with putting up signs that help people from getting lost, to tell people where camp's at, tells people where set's going to be, where catering's at, where the restrooms are. So there's many different things that I do. I guess you can call me utility because I'm not just stuck to certain things that locations do. I go and, I'll do things for whoever needs help at that point in time. So for me, it's a little bit different. I'm kind of just, you tell me what to do, Austin, and I'll go do it. That's literally that's how I operate. So with that said, I want you to listen to the expert, Austin, because he's got a wide range of different things that he does from a location standpoint, for sure.
Well, Austin, take it from there.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I can only fail from here. So yeah, things that some people don't think of when they're talking about film and locations, a lot of times you pick the location because of what it looks like and not necessarily how easy it is to work there, especially with The Chosen. We're shooting outside. We're needing things that look like the Middle East, which smack dab in the middle of Texas is not just everywhere. So you're having to deal with sometimes some really weird things. Like, we were shooting up in Utah. We went from negative temperatures all the way up into the triple digits. So one thing that as a locations person, you're trying to, figure out how to keep people from not freezing to death, so you've got heaters and then when it's really hot, you're trying to get shade. So you're throwing up pop-ups. Like up in Utah, the wind would whip sometimes 20, 30, 40 miles an hour. And so you have to build the tent to last through that, which is not a pop-up tent's not designed for more than like 12 or 13 mile an hour wind. So it takes a little bit of engineering and trying to figure out how do you make a pop-up tent stand during this kind of wind and really soft sand or rock, you're almost having to try and drill through it to get a stake to go. But things like bugs, like you wouldn't think, well, you're out in the middle of nowhere or you're surrounded by a cow pasture. There's a million bugs. And so things like trying to keep the bugs away from talent and away from food and away from, those are some really weird things that you wouldn't think about that, you have to do, or melting ice. We had up in Goshen, there's a lot of those seps, they're coming down and they're made out of styrofoam or plaster. So the water will freeze instantaneously to it once it gets below freezing because it can freeze to it. So you're going around with a blowtorch trying to melt I don't know if you follow my blowtorch. I packed my blowtorch in my little propane tanks and I was trying to melt the ice and keep people from slipping and falling. And you can't just drop sand or ice melt in front of camera because it'll turn blue or all kinds of weird things that'll do. So you're having to try and, make it safe for everyone. But yeah, all kinds of weird things that you wouldn't think about, everything from signs on where the bathrooms are to, hey, we need to get ATVs up the side of this mountain, but there's no way to do it. So did you get a chance, Jeremy, to work with Transpo?
Kelly and them?
Kelly and them, yes. So they helped me build a land bridge to get up the side of the mountain. So they found a guy with a tractor. He was able to drop rocks into this gully to make it kind of flat. And then I went in and made it so it was passable, right? So like you get a hand shovel it and make it so, especially they're going to go across it at night on the gators to go up this mountain. And it's like, oh, and you're in the middle of nowhere, so there's no light. So it's whatever light that they can carry with them or have on the vehicle. So weird stuff like that you were like, I did not see myself trying to figure this one out. What's the safest route to the top of the mountain? Not a part of my film school experience. You learn tons of stuff on the go, Jeremy. I'm sure you can testify to the little tips and tricks you find. And I think the fun thing about the film world is that what you learn in locations, you can take to another department because all the departments have to work together. And when you understand how all the departments work together, then it's a lot more enjoyable and it's a lot smoother. So like, even if locations isn't your thing, pick a department you want to go into and you can learn stuff from working in that locations department if you keep your eyes and your ears and your heart open. And Jeremy, I'm sure you can testify to that 100%.
Absolutely, man. The thing, it's relationship building. If you're good at building relationships with people, that makes your job a lot easier because it's hard when you don't communicate and you don't have a good communication skill. But that's the thing with every single person on The Chosen, whether it's Arturo and camera or Kelly and Transpo or anybody else, we have solid relationships with each other as far as we would consider ourselves friends outside of work. So that's nice to have. And when you have it, it reflects not only in the work, but also on camera. You can see, I mean, it's there.
Jeremy's hit it right on the head. When you have a cohesive team that works well together and you guys get along, you can tell when you watch something.
It's becoming real, isn't it? Everything we've prepared for.
It is.
You can tell, like I can tell when I know what's happening behind the scenes and I watch something and I go, yep, that crew's getting along, or nope, that crew is not getting along.
Absolutely.
It makes a huge difference. It does. And that's why you see people, they'll start to build a film crew and it's the same people for every show because they know them, they trust them, they like them, they get a good quality project done. It shows up on the screen well, and it's like you hold on to those people with dear life.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. It sounds like such a great way to build relationships with so many different people from every aspect of the show, and like a loaded job as well. You can tell a lot of hard work goes into what you guys do that might go unnoticed. So next thing I want to know is, have any of your friends or family watched the show? What are their thoughts? Go. Go ahead. We'll start with Jeremy.
Yeah, I have family that watches it. Not so much everybody I want to. I wish I could have more people sit down and take the time to watch it, where they invest in other shows. I'm like, well, why haven't you started The Chosen yet? You know, you've talked about it. You know, I'm a part of it. Go ahead and start it. I'm telling you, once you start it, you will understand why I wanted you to start it. And you can see and feel the hard, like I said, you can feel the effort that's been put into making it. And it's something that even if you're not a follower, if you're not a believer, if you believe in other things, that's fine. But if you want to learn just what a great quality storytelling about Jesus is, like literally, it's not so much even about Jesus, just learning about how the 12 disciples work together and making them feel more relatable in every sense. It's just something that I wish more of my family watched. But don't worry, we still got plenty of time to get them to go. We still got a lot of stuff to do. So there's time. And when the time comes, the time will be right for them. That's how I always feel. It's not now, it's going to be later, and it'll be perfect for when they need it.
That's a great mentality. Austin?
Yeah. No, I mean, Jeremy's got it. I don't know why you're interviewing me. I'll just keep the camera on Jeremy here. He's got it all.
Calm down.
He's right. You're right, man. I mean, when the time is right for people to sit and watch it, the time will be right. Hopefully the cinematic experience can help break down the barrier that might get put up when a message like this is being delivered to someone. And that allows them to drop their gate and their barrier so that their heart can be exposed to the truth, if you will. So I think Jeremy's got it right. When it's the right time. I mean, that's how I got into film. It was the right time I saw that movie, second time or third time or fourth time, however many times it was. And it finally clicked and registered. And I was like, okay. But yeah, no, like I have friends and family that watch it. Like I have a couple of hoodies that say The Chosen on it. And I've been to a few parts of the country, and they'll go, The Chosen? Is that TV show, The Chosen? Yeah. Oh man, that's the greatest show I've ever seen. Like, okay, I didn't even know anyone would even, put that together.
That was a great impression of me, by the way. That's what I say every time I go. That's the greatest show I've ever seen.
It's the greatest show I've ever seen. There's a reason they put me behind the camera, not in front of the camera. So yeah, I think people really enjoy it. Our art department, if you've had a chance, I mean, the art department it's massive. They are very good at what they do. Everything from like Jesus's tools, they were all handmade from scratch. Like it wasn't something bought off the shelf and modified. It wasn't something specially ordered. It was a guy sitting there, and I watched him figure out how to make these tools from wood and sticks and rocks. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive, man. Like you guys are good at what you do. So I feel like the cinematic experience is just amazing with the art team and the DPs and the director. They really enjoy that, but then they also really enjoy the story being told the right way. And so you get both of those put together, and that's where you get a good movie, a good story, is when you have both the good cinematic experience and then a good story.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well,
shout out to Jeff and James for sure. Jeff and James,
oh my gosh,
are killing
amazing guys. If you guys,
oh my gosh, so good.
If anyone's ever able to work with them or hire them, you guys are pretty dang lucky because they're amazing. And it's like they never stop. It's like you hang out with them and they're watching someone build a house from scratch. And you're like, okay, that's who you guys are. That's entertainment to you. This is watching a house getting built by hand from scratch. Okay. But that's the mentality that they have. They're very smart guys, very intelligent,
for sure,
very hardworking. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I do know, like, there is a long process in preparing to shoot these new seasons. So I'm curious, at what point does preparation for a new season begin for you guys? And who do you have to work with in that time before you go to film?
I'm gonna let Austin.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. That question, it's never the same, because you're always dealing with, like I know the last I heard is that they had found a place in Midland, in that area, where they were going to actually be building their own stages, their own studios, their own backlot kind of situation. I think depending on the variations and the variables and what's required from, pick any department. We're talking about locations. Anywhere from before anyone even arrives to 6 weeks prior to shooting. So you could be working in locations, either location scouting or prepping the location for shooting, or building roads, or figuring out how to run water to, if they're building something from scratch, they may have a locations guy in there who's like, okay, this is where we're going to be running water in. This is where we're running power in. This is where your distros are going to be. This is where we're going to have staging for art and wardrobe and hair and makeup and transpo and locations and the AD team and the production office. So they might be working in figuring out all of that stuff, so that when it comes time for these people to arrive to start to do their job, there should be nothing locations related to get in their way. Everything from, hey, we don't have power, to, hey, we don't have Wi-Fi or bathrooms or roads or parking lots or maps or so many things that, rugs, like we don't have rugs by the doors. Well, it's part of your locations department. They're responsible for that and keeping things clean and safe. So it could be anywhere from a year. So like when we went and shot a movie called Extraordinary up in South Dakota, we shot up there, and they said when National Treasure came along, they spent almost an entire year location scouting in that area to get the right camera setups, the right shots. Well, I had 2 hours to try and figure out where to drop camera and get a permit. And so then I could get back there a week from then and we could shoot. So it just depends on the needs. And, I've had it where I showed up basically the 6 weeks out from when we started shooting, and everyone showed up and we were ready to go. And I've shown up a week before we're ready to go, because it's one location, it's one spot. I didn't have to build anything. I have to plan anything. You're just kind of there to make sure that things don't break and are clean and organized and the crew's taken care of and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I want to know, we already kind of talked about this, and I even have more questions that relate to this later, but working on the show, what has been like your favorite moment? It doesn't have to be like just whatever behind the scenes happened that is a memory that you can keep forever. And whoever wants to go first.
Well, I mean, I kind of have to say meeting my wife. I have to say that. But after that, that important thing of meeting my wife, and Jeremy actually talked about this a little bit earlier. It's making those connections with those people, building those friendships. Like Kelly, he was an amazing guy. He gave me, when we got done shooting up in Goshen, he gave me a wrap gift, a very personal wrap gift that was his at one point in time. Like, I was just holding it in my hands and I was looking at it and I was like, wow, this is like, I'll never let this out of my sight. He gave me a Leatherman that was his when he first started making movies. It has his name engraved on it. And I'm just like, because like, there's no way, like, I would not buy a Leatherman, because they're expensive and I'll break it or lose it. And so that's why I don't have one. And he gave me his, and it literally sits on my shelf. I have a very small shelf of all the trophies and awards I've ever received in film, which is like a can of sauerkraut and some blow pop awards. But I have it sitting on that shelf. And it's like, that was one of those moments in time when filming on The Chosen, that it was like, this is far beyond making a picture. This is far beyond telling a story. This was the creation of friendship, lifelong friendships. And when it comes time to not filming, those are the people that you can pick up the phone and call and be like, hey man, I'm having one heck of a week, one heck of a day. And they're just there to listen. You know, they're stand up guys and gals. And those are the things that get me, that really hook me.
Yeah. Jeremy, what about you?
It's got to be the relationship building. I think with just every individual person in their own way, to the extent that they want to allow it between me, because I will go above and beyond to just mess with people all day. So sometimes you have to tell me, hey, chill out. So, but beyond that, I mean, if there's too many stories, too many good behind the scene memories that I have that I probably shouldn't share for a lot of them for reasons that it might just disappoint some people. But other than that, I have one that sticks out. I really, really one that stands out. And you might have seen it on, I believe it's one of the BTS episodes, maybe 56 or 62 or something of that nature. I forget the numbers, but there's a foot race.
I raced most of the cast. I didn't win. I held up pretty well for a 45-year-old wearing jeans and like sneakers.
So basically, Kelly had a gentleman named Joshua Moody who helped him with transpo, okay? And Moody come up to me one day and was like, you know, I saw your videos on Instagram. You're fast, right? I'm like, oh, I'm the fastest, man. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, well, you want to race? I'm like, dude, it's not a competition. Like, I won't even stretch. I'll just go to the line and I'll beat you. Like, I'm not being cocky. He was like, oh, I'm going to take the humble approach. I said, Moody, you take the humble approach, okay? I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen, okay? Long story short, rumors throughout the whole day had made it around that we were racing at the end of the set today, okay? So long story short, you got everyone taking sides, everyone's choosing, and everyone's having a good time. This was the fastest that all of the actors had ever gotten out of their clothing and outside to the trailers. So I remember the wardrobe department telling, and hair and makeup telling Dallas, we need to tell them there's a race every day after this, because they were out of there quick. Long story short, it led to a pre-race between Dallas and the cast before our race. So we got to watch Dallas race all the cast. You had every single person from every single department outside of the building, the stages outside Dallas, watching, cheering. There was hugs, there was screams, there was anger because they picked the wrong person. I mean, it was a blast. Let's just say Moody, I'm sorry, he didn't win. I told him I won, and here we are. I won. I think seeing people giving each other high fives and hugging and just the camaraderie that happened from that race. And I guarantee you, if you ask any one of them about it, the same thing they probably will say is it was the love, the cheer, and the joy that we all had just in that little specific 20, 15 minutes that we spent running a race as adults. Like, fantastic. You know, it was just that's probably one of the greatest things was seeing Dallas run full speed in his blue jean pants.
Who won in that race? Do you know?
Yes. Who was it? I think Noah got third. I think it was Allah. Allah got first. We raced another race. The third race was me, Moody, and Allah, and I beat them both again. By the way, if you don't know who Allah is, that's Simon the Z. So
yes,
he's amazing. So I want to know favorite episode of The Chosen. You can pick any season. You can pick a Christmas. You can pick the Christmas special, whatever you want. Favorite episode, just like as a watcher. And then if you have like a favorite episode that you worked on, I'd love to hear that too. Whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Austin.
Man, for me, most series that I watch, the episode that I like the most is usually the pilot, because that's the one that's divulging the information. And I'm not really sure how this story ends yet. I'm really looking forward to the last season to see, what happens. Just kidding. We all know most of us know how the story ends.
I have a feeling I know how it'll end.
Yeah. Unless they decided to go a different direction. Artistic decision. Now he flies away instead of is resurrected. The pilot episodes is usually my favorite episodes of anything, because they're introducing the characters, they're introducing the story, they're setting the stage, and I like that because it allows me then to step into the show I'm watching or whatever, the disbelief. Now, my favorite episode that I worked on is actually And I don't even know what episode it turned into. I just remember this scene where there's a donkey and a cart, and the tax collector, he's trying to evade everybody. And
you sift through trash on your own time.
Driving you's a bit of both now, isn't it? If any citizen asks about my cargo, I must tell the truth.
It's the biggest pile of dung in all Capernaum.
And it wasn't actually that scene. It was behind the scenes of that scene when I was getting able to actually hang out on set for the first time. And Moody, he's out, he's doing the special effects. He's helping with special effects with the smoke machines and whatnot. I'm normally not on set. I'm normally not there standing on set. I'm usually out doing something else somewhere else, but I got to be a part of that scene. And it was just fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. Jeremy?
When it comes to watching it as a viewer, as a fan, as a supporter, it has to be when Mary Mag slips up and falls again. Of course, we know what happens and what she does. And I think I say that because I relate to it so much, not just, and I don't know. I relate to that very much because every single day I fall. And so I have to resort back to the fact that he accepts me regardless. So that really hit home. Of course, when, she wasn't expecting him to have such a grateful, gracious attitude to see her back, but he was, and he was forgiving. So that to me, of course, whenever he first meets her and, introduce himself, like that's probably one of the most pivotal things. But outside of that, it has to be when Mary Mag slips up and falls and then comes back and she realizes that she's still accepted. That's all I can want for every single person is just, if you ever think about falling, just remember that you have to get back up and you got to keep going, and you're always going to have an opportunity to be forgiven, and no matter what you do. So I think that as a viewer, for me, is probably one of the most pivotal scenes, along when Jesus is talking to John the Baptist at the lake. Like, there's some comical humor and some, I thoroughly enjoy that conversation between him and John the Baptist. It's awesome. So
yeah, that's
tough. That's a 1A and 1B right there for me.
Yeah. So is there a favorite when you were working, like to watch from behind the scenes?
Yes. Forgive me, I don't remember the episode, but we did a 15-minute oneer at the very beginning of the episode. So you have 15-minute oneer. Now, if you don't know what a oneer is where we're shooting for 15 minutes straight the entire time. The camera never stops. So if one light falls down, if one tree breaks, something goes wrong, you have to restart and reset everything from the beginning. So basically you have to go from 1 to 15 throughout the entire process. And I got to watch this. I remember where we were filming it and the sun was coming and we were running out of time. The sun was just getting almost too dark. Our very, very, very last take, I remember sitting back in the tent, watching it with Dallas, watching it with Chris, watching it with every single person, watching it with every single big head that you can imagine on the show. And Dallas was crying, like there was tears because it just worked out. So you could not have asked for the lighting to be any better. You could not have asked for every single actor to hit their cue, every single background to hit their spot, and it was just magnificent. Oh my gosh, that's the best one that I can remember that I feel being a part of, because let me tell you what, that is not an easy task to do. And they did it so easily, and it turned out so beautiful on camera. So yeah, that's my favorite for sure.
It's an amazing thing to watch. Like I keep behind the scenes views rolling on YouTube. Yeah. So to watch all that happen and to hear the testimony behind it, I can't imagine being there. It sounds like a fantastic experience. So
one thing I want to touch on real quick is Sermon on the Mount. Sermon on the Mount. I remember Jonathan, aka Jesus, the very first take we did where he approached the Sermon on the Mount, and I don't know if I'm going to tell it. He comes out and he was so overwhelmed that when he came back from the curtain, he was bawling. Everyone started bawling, like crying, like he needed a minute to woo Saul because he felt it. I know we're acting. I know this is a show that we're putting on, but Jonathan felt it. And when Jonathan felt it, we all felt it. Like, we had to take a couple minutes for Jonathan to sit there and, recoup and get back together. And man, that's another one. I had to bring that one up while I was thinking about it. So yeah.
I am so glad you shared that because as a fan, that just fills my heart so much.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and I haven't heard that yet. So, oh my goodness, that just it makes me so excited and just grateful for what the Holy Spirit is going to do in these next seasons with all of the actors and with Jonathan. And
sorry, Jonathan, I didn't mean to tell your business, Jonathan. Forgive me.
I think fans will forgive him for crying. He's okay.
He's Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about like what goes on in a regular day kind of, but I want to know when you first got this job or even as you've been learning on the job, what intimidates you, either like what intimidated you or when you wake up in the morning, you think, "Ooh, I got to do this today." Is there anything at all? No?
I think I'll speak to something. Having enough tents, having enough tables, and having enough chairs. Because when the weather, it's Texas, or well, at least when we've been filming down here, we have crazy weather. We don't ever know what's going to happen the next day. So every department's always going to need their tent. There's always going to be a department that we might be a tent short of, and that's the department that probably leads to the biggest frustrations of our day because they have everyone running around trying to accommodate to them, and it all boils down to one tent or one table or one chair that we don't have. So that's the only thing that intimidates me when I go to work is saying, okay, today, who's going to need a tent and where do we get them from? And how do we make sure that everyone's taken care of in that aspect? You know what I mean? Because you don't want to upset anybody on set.
Right. I want to shed a little light on Christmas with the Chosen. I know, Jeremy, you said you worked on Christmas with the Chosen. Mm-hmm. Austin, I can't remember. Did you worked on it as well? Okay. Well, then I guess this will just be centered toward it's for both of you. So for Jeremy, how did it differ from working on like the regular episodes?
So on season 2, we did a couple of location areas that were difficult in the aspect of they required a lot of movement, a lot of transpo, moving their trucks a week before, and then us following a week later, different location areas, which that's going to change because as Austin talked about earlier, I think you said Midland, but they've actually built the new stages here in Midlothian, Texas. The reason I say that is because it's very, it's nice to have everything in one place. That makes our job a little bit easier. But when there's a lot going on and you have different locations, it's tough. It's tough trying to move. I don't know how to decide how to make everything happen all in a swift, clean, easy move. There's always a little bit of a hiccup. So you have to prepare for that as well. On the Christmas special, everything was relatively easier in a sense because we were stuck to one location. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As to where, if you have multiple locations, like I said, it's hard to piece everything together. There's a lot of logistics that go to it. But with the Chosen's Christmas special, it was nice. It was fantastic because we had everything we needed all in one set general area. There wasn't a lot of off-set filming going on. And it was only 5 days of filming. So earlier to your question about how long did we prepare ahead of time with the Christmas special, I think we got there at the beginning of September, and then we filmed at the end of September for 4 days. So we were there almost pre-month before to get prepared for just this Christmas special. But it was, as far as location standpoint, it was very easier. I keep using the air quotes because it was easier since we had everything in relatively one location and there wasn't a lot of moving pieces. So that made it really easy and really beneficial for us, I should say, to not only help our department, but that allows us to have more free time to help Jeff and James and Art or Arturo and them in camera. So it really it's a benefit for, I guess, the entire show to have locations do one spot. And that's what really worked out with the Christmas special for sure.
That's great. So now for both of you, how did it feel to see the Christmas special on the big screen? That's all.
I mean, I loved it. It was fantastic.
I actually did not have the opportunity to see it. My parents went and saw it in the theaters in Rochester, Minnesota. But I was this holiday season, I was traveling a lot, working on a lot of little different things here and there. So I wasn't in a spot where I could go to a theater or whatever and see it because I had so much going on. But
for sure.
So I'm just going to buy a theater, build one in my next backyard. So then it's like, oh, okay, I missed that one in the theaters. Let's go power up the projector. Have Jeremy over so you can tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, you bring your snacks.
Yeah, popcorn. Got a popcorn. That's the only reason I got into film is I like popcorn.
It was great watching it. It was even better hearing them in person because a lot of the artists really performed. So Brandon Lake, for example, I remember walking on set and just hearing Brandon sing. He was singing Gratitude. And I remember getting chills and just like, it was going through a tunnel where air was. And his vocals were mind-boggling. I remember telling Willie, like, dude, like, I gotta go.
Were you down in front of Solomon's Steps?
Yes,
Solomon's porch
right. I was literally on Solomon's Steps.
Yeah. So the wind. Yeah. So what Jeremy is talking about is there's actually like a space there. It's open on both ends, but there's sets like this, right? Mm-hmm. So you can flip the camera like this or shoot down at an angle. Where you're talking about, if he was in there singing, like basically, and I don't know, Jeremy, if you've ever experienced this, but it'd be like the power of God or the voice of God or the wind would just come out of nowhere and it'd be like this solid, strong, and then it'd just be gone. Yes. And it was like, if they were, I could see that would definitely could raise the hairs on anyone's back.
Exactly what you're talking about happened, man. I remember. And then I remember walking into the room and Brandon's filming, he's singing. And as soon as he's done, he starts talking to Dallas. Well, I'm just minding my own business, standing over there, just watching. And he came up and he was like, man, Brandon goes, when you walked in the room, dude, he's like, I wanted to know who you were. He's like, you just have a swag about you, dude. I was like, what? I was like, dude, I just heard you singing through the halls and you were just messing around and you gave me goosebumps and like it touched my soul, dude. And he was like, well, thank you for that, man. I was like, yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm spoiled in the fact that I got to see it all, and in person is just, I'm sorry, it's great on camera, but it's not anything like being there in person.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I actually got to hear Brandon Lake do Gratitude at the Passion Conference not too long ago. And that experience in itself was amazing, but I cannot imagine seeing Brandon there in the set where it looks so cool and doing his whole thing.
He's so nice. He's so sweet. He took Willie's cell phone and made a video to Willie's son, encouraging him to sing more because Willie told him he could sing, but he was scared. So Brandon took his phone and was like, send me a video of you singing right now whenever you get the chance. And I'd love to hear it. You can always sing it. You can do whatever you want to. Like, he just went out of his way to show some love to Willie's son. And that's just a test to the people that we have coming on and working with us. So it's awesome.
Forget locations. This is now just Brandon Lake fan club. And
Brandon would love it. Shout out Brandon.
Okay. We got to get back though to business. So before this, I was researching the both of you guys. And what I found really interesting researching everything y'all have done in the past was how versatile your work is. I mean, Jeremy, you've worked as crew, you've acted, you've even done some stunt work from what I've heard. Mm-hmm. And Austin, you've worked as crew, producer, director, actor, writer, editor, even more. And I think most people go into really any industry, especially in entertainment, assuming that they can only take one lane or be one thing. Did you ever have those thoughts, both of you? And what have you liked and disliked about wearing so many hats? Austin, do you want to go?
Yeah. So I started my film career in film school, where you learn to wear everyone's hat. You learn how every department works, how they work together. I'm more of a logistical and financial advisor, and that's really where my strengths sit, is to watch our budget, watch what we're doing, and just making sure we're staying on track and that we're being responsible for what we've been given is really where my strengths sit. Depending on what direction you want to go in film, I feel like the ability for you to be able to wear, well, not only wear all the hats, but really understand how all those hats and all those positions work and how they work together, will definitely set you up for success as you plan to grow and learn and evolve in the film world. And if you want to go into producing, directing, writing, whatever it is, having the options, especially like as an actor, being able to be an actor, and because you're working with everyone, you're watching everyone. A lot of people think like when I'm just kind of standing around and I'm just kind of standing there and maybe I have my cell phone out or a piece of paper out, that's where my attention is. But really my attention is everywhere else. And I'm just, people don't realize I'm watching them. I'm listening to them. I'm, calculating things in my head. I'm doing the math. I'm figuring out how do we make our day and that kind of stuff. But having the opportunity to have worn all the hats has helped me as I'm moving into the line producing and unit production managing kind of world is where I want to be. And that's made my life a lot easier. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to work in that department. I want to be in camera. I'm like, well, that's great. This department will allow you to talk to those people. This department will allow you to watch those people. This department will allow you to work with them, finding out what their needs are for them to do their job the best way and how it relates to not only you, but everybody else that you're working with. So, there's not one in film, and Jeremy, you were shaking your head. You're right. There's not one way to get anywhere in film. Like you just don't know. A lot of it comes down to just your people skills and working with people and learning and growing. The more hats I think you can wear when starting out and figuring out where exactly it is you want to be will serve you very well in your ability to really focus on what it is that you want to do. But I think the great thing is that being able to do like locations and producing and acting and writing and editing is that if there's not like a producing job or a unit production manager job or a production office coordinator job, you still have all these other talents and traits that you've learned that you could fall back on, which may set you up for a job that you want down the road. Or maybe the job that you think you want to do down the road is not actually where you're supposed to be. And, I went in thinking, hey, I'm going to be a director of photography. And then I go to try and set up a shot and I'm like, this is terrible. Where's the spreadsheets? Because that's where I fit in. I fit in the spreadsheets and watching everything and making sure that everything works together. We don't forget something. We don't drop something. We don't spend money where we shouldn't be or spend money on things we shouldn't. And so wear the hats. So what if it's not the department you want to be in? My advice for someone getting started in film is just get started. Just get the ball rolling and then you can redirect as that ball is moving. No.
That's great advice. What about you, Jeremy? What's been your experience?
My experience has been a little bit different. And I think I can attribute that to my look more than anything. Shout out to my Native Americans. I honestly say that because I got into acting based off my look. In 2018, someone mistakenly thought that I was an actor, and it led to a background opportunity, which led to getting a speaking part, which ties back to what Austin said. The only reason I got that was because of my social networking and ability to just spread love and energy to the cast and crew. So it was on Queen of the South. And I remember I was background and all the A-list celebrity actors were over there at the background table with me, and we're laughing, we're joking, and it's cold. And I remember the PA was like, he's like, dude, A-list actors don't hang out with background. Like, oh, he's like, who are you? What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? Because I didn't know that they didn't do that. I thought they were just being cool people. He was like, no, it's an attest to you, like how you have this ability to draw people into you and make them feel good and make them laugh. And so I say that to say, I did that with Willie on Washington's Armor, and we became brothers the first day. And then boom, next thing you know, an opportunity, because acting is not consistent enough for me at this point in my life to say like that's all I want to focus on, that's all I want to do, that's it. I still have to find work. It's a roller coaster, so there's times where you're up, there's times where you're down, and I'm sure that's in everything, but it's really hard for actors if that's primarily your focus. So with that said, of course Willie knew that because he's my brother. Willie calls me every day to pray for me. Willie calls me every day to hold me accountable. So he's like, hey, opportunities over here with The Chosen. I've never done anything behind the scenes, and I've always been the person to give credit to those who do things that we don't see. We as actors get all the accolades, and we're the ones who are, oh, great job for doing this, but they don't see that the grip team was they're 3 hours earlier and 3 hours later filming and are trying to pick things up that people don't acknowledge and don't get credit for. So I always try to make sure those people get credit. So now when Willie put me in behind the scenes with, basically I call it behind the scenes, when Willie put me in behind production, it's been great. It's been fantastic. It's been an opportunity for me to learn, to listen, to sit back and see what goes into what makes me look good on camera. And so now I've learned, and I'm still learning. I'm not an expert by any means, but I'm very grateful to be in a position that I'm in because there are so many doors that it can lead to, like Austin said. And especially with new things coming along, there's always opportunities. So for example, COVID, there's now COVID teams on all sets. So if, for example, you couldn't get on one set production as a grip or as catering or whatever, well, there's new opportunities in this COVID team. And we know you're a hard worker. So, hey, we're going to put you here on this team. So there's always things that come up. And when you have a good relationship with people and you treat people with respect and, you do things the way that you're supposed to, then always someone's going to remember that. Somebody out there is going to say, hey, well, I know this hard worker. I know this guy and he's local or whatever. So again, it's just the relationship building. It goes a long way, and it's very, very important, not just in the work atmosphere, but also outside of work, like Austin said. So it's fantastic. It's a blessing for sure.
That's really good. I want to know from set on The Chosen, we kind of already talked about this with the sand, but I want to know if there was any other aggravating thing having to work on location, like not necessarily having to work as your job, but like any aggravating thing you had to face with a location.
I can touch specifically on quite a bit, but again, we're going to talk about Sermon on the Mount. We had over 3,000 background actors that day on set, and not only that, but it was 18, 22 degrees, somewhere around there. So it was freezing, brutal. So before everything even got started, because, as locations, you're probably either the first couple ones there and the last ones to leave. You're standing there 3 or 4 hours, maybe 6, 7 hours before things really get started. So the weather for me, the weather on Sermon on the Mount is the one that sticks out to me the most. And just the way those people powered through it. Everyone that was there, who paid to be there, they wanted to be there. So that was a good one for me. That was a brutal but good one.
What about you, Austin?
Yeah, the elements are, when you're shooting on location, the elements really are is what's going to get you. When you're able to shoot in the stages or by the stages, it's not as big of an issue because you have the stages to fall back into. But when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, like when you're up in Utah or whatever, the elements blow through. You're shooting out the Sermon on the Mount, right? With all those people. Weather, there's only so much you can do. There's only so many resources you've got that you can expend to make other people's lives more comfortable. I think with locations, like you were up in Utah, Jeremy, there's not an Ace Hardware store just around the corner. The closest Ace Hardware store was, although close, was 23 minutes away. So if you needed something, either you or you lost someone for at least an hour. And so that is where things can start getting really dicey, is when, oh man, we need fuel, or, oh man, we need garbage bags, or, oh man, we've got a bug problem. Well, it's not a quick and easy thing that if I was shooting here in Austin, Texas, I can be to Home Depot and back in 5 minutes, have the problem solved. When you're shooting someplace like that, or you're out in the middle of nowhere, sometimes it's like, okay, this is what I've got. This is what I need to do. We're not going to get it, but I'm going to get as close as I can, because that's all I can do. That's all I've got. And I think for me, I'm kind of, when things go terribly wrong, I'm just kind of allow it to roll off my back, because I realize I'm only capable of doing so much, right? That we're only human, and that I have to hand off my cares, worries, and concerns to a higher power. For him to carry, so that I can try and do my job to the best of my ability, and just to understand that it's the best you can do with what you've got.
Praise the Lord. That's good.
It's not the greatest you want to do. It's not the best you want to do, but it's what you got, and that's what you can give. And hopefully you've got a whole other team to be working with you that you can figure out how to make it work. But failure is inevitable.
And I think
happen.
from seeing everything that fans get to see for behind the scenes of the show, you can tell that God is all over that. I mean, you can tell that y'all bring your best and then some. And even if it doesn't work, God's in the mix and he uses that. Yeah. And so I love hearing that from you guys. It just does something to my heart.
Yeah.
Okay. So has there ever been, I was talking with my mama before, while I was making these questions, and she wanted to know if there's ever been a 21st, this was her words, 21st century blooper that you either missed or struck you as really funny before they cut it, because it's not supposed to like be in the biblical times scene. I don't know how that's going to word or how that's going to absorb, but that's the question.
I can attest to in Midlothian, the airplanes. I know they didn't have airplanes back then, and airplanes constantly kept coming over. It's
We'll keep rolling. We'll try it again.
It's like somebody in the small town of Midlothian told them, hey, they're filming The Chosen over here. And it was if he literally just kept circling around us giving tours and like, hey, look, they're filming. Like, so that might be an answer for you.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Anything to add, Austin?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I pick it up, like when I watch something, I can pick up real quick, like equipment in the background that's not supposed to be there, because like you stare at it all day long and so you're like, that's a C-stand, or there's a ladder, or that's a person wearing today's clothes, that you probably don't notice it unless you're looking for it, but there is that. Now, The Chosen does an amazing job, because even like in their art department, a few people that know Greek and Latin and Hebrew. And so they're able to like, even like the signs and the writing and all that stuff that's in Hebrew and Arabic, it's very accurate. So they're able to do some pretty amazing stuff. Or like Jeff, he was making plasters of the clay pots, so that, because they were very accurate and he wanted to remake them. So it was towards the end of shooting, and he's like covering these things with plastic, going through all these different steps to get an accurate mold of it so he can make more of them, because it was very accurate. So the greatest thing that I think they have going for them is that you're not going to get as many of those 21st century bloopers.
That's going to end up on the blooper reel.
Because the art team is really good at what they do. And that is where, in a period piece, it's going to be the wardrobe and it's going to be the art department that could screw up. The only other scripts, like the planes flying around, there's not much you can do about that besides call the FAA and figure out who it is and give them a call and tell them to stop.
Oh, man. Okay, we are pretty close to the end of this. I do have a personal question for each of y'all. It's not like, too personal. I'm just saying that they're directed towards each of you. So, Austin, you've worked on a broad range of projects, from TV dramas like The Chosen to documentaries to feature films. What is something that you have learned from each of them, from each kind of genre?
Yeah, from each genre. Well, at the end of each project, I sit down and write down what I've learned, both the good things and the bad things. Most of the time when I'm done writing, it usually, I'll go back and look at it, and a lot of it is that I need to work on my own people skills. And even though, and I'm very conscious of it, and I understand I lost my people skills a long time ago, and I've had to kind of rebuild them as I've started to mature again in life. And people skills, and pre-pro are the things I always take away from projects. And in different perspectives. And I take the most away from a project that I'm not just invested my time into, but also my love and my energy. And
that's really good answer. I love hearing that, because I think people take the need for people skills for granted. And so
it's a huge thing. People skills. I think in my short career I've had in film, I think I've been in film maybe 5 or 6 years. I've let go a few people, and very rarely is it because they can't do their job correctly. Most of the time, it's because there's a people skills issue that causes the issues. And so your people skills, your communication skills, your problem solving skills, like it's always going to get tested in different ways, but that'll make a huge difference in you and your picture and your career and your story, your testimonies.
That's a great answer. Getting to Jeremy's question, I was really excited about this one. Mm-hmm. Dude, we got to talk about shark fights.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Bring this up. So first and foremost, what was your question about it?
Nothing really. I wanted to know if it comes up in auditions or job interviews, but mainly I just wanted to bring it up.
So for those of you who don't know, she brings this up knowing there's another Jeremy Gauna out there who is a MMA fighter. I'm not sure where he's out of, but he's got a record of 0-1. And I, as this Jeremy Gauna, cannot have that. So we have a boxing match set up with me and Canaan coming up soon. Everyone tune into that.
Whoa.
I'm trying to be 1-0 or 1-1 at least.
I heard that it was you and Noah.
Oh yeah. Noah's trying to give me the first winning record. So he'll be the second win, the second fight. So he's next. You're first. Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding. But yeah, someone out there does an MMA. They're a fighter. I guess they only had one fight. It's not me. I'm sorry to say. I don't know if I would have a loss. I just want to be honest.
We know that you're pretty quick, so that would.
For sure. You got to catch me first. And by the time you catch me, you're already tired. So.
Exactly. But has that come up with like auditions or things like that?
Yes, it's happened quite a bit. People just assume that I'm a fighter, and I'm just like, well, listen, I've never had a professional fight. I have in my life as a younger kid, was a hothead and been in many of squabbles and things I should not have done when I was a kid.
It was not the right time for justice.
But yeah, no, it gets brought up, and it's a laughable moment between whoever brings it up, because I can explain to them how I'm still trying to get my first win.
That is
for sure.
And I just love that it's called shark fights. Like, it's not just like MMA fights. It's shark fights.
He's the guy that they're talking about is a lot smaller than me. I wouldn't enter in MMA because I'm considered a heavyweight, and that is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not getting in there with the heavyweight class. No, thank you.
Okay. We are at our last two questions, and these are two fan questions. We've got one from Instagram, and we have one from Facebook. The one from Instagram is from @LCM4him, and they say, I would like to know from each one of them at least one thing they have seen or experienced since being involved with The Chosen that they know was unexplainable other than divine intervention, either personally or on set. So I'm going to let Austin go first.
This may seem strange or off, or not exactly probably what you're expecting, but every once in a while I'll wear a Chosen. I have like 3 or 4 hoodies. They're The Chosen on them. They're nice. They're nice and thin so that like I can layer and take them on and off. That's the way I like my hoodies that way. So you're not like just overheating. And every once in a while someone will be like, Chosen, a TV show, and it's usually when I'm having like the worst day, right? Or I'm like scouring the city looking for something and I can't find it, and they'll stand and talk to you like I don't even know who they are. I know nothing about them. They'll stand and talk to you for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, and for me it fills up my tank knowing that the reason I'm in faith-based and family-friendly filmmaking is to make a positive difference in the lives of men, women, and children around the world. And then for these people to just kind of stand there and praise the project and the story. And I mean, that's none of my doing. I didn't write it. I didn't shoot it. I didn't do anything, but I was up there when I needed to be at home to take care of my wife when she was sick. And you're kind of torn in between, right, of working and stressing yourself and taking care of other things. But it fills me back up to knowing that, okay, wow, people actually know the show. People actually watch the show. These people are so excited about the show and what it's doing with zero context, behind them or me. And it reinforces me like, okay, yeah, when I'm tired, when I'm worn out, when I'm hungry, when I'm angry, when I'm stressed and I'm anxious and I'm on the road and I need to be around my family and I'm not able to, it's like that fills me back up and goes, okay, this person that I don't even know, I have know nothing about them, but their face turned from like the stranger to like, come over for dinner. I want to sit and chat with you for the next 10 hours about something, look in their face, and it refills you. It fills me back up going, okay, all of the suffering, all of the, not being at home on holidays, being on the road, being tired, all of that stuff is worth it because I'm now meeting people who their lives are being changed. And so it's like, okay, keep going. Like, don't give up. Like, you were asked to come, to go back to school at the age of like 30 to learn how to make movies, which you knew nothing about, in a city where you knew no one. And now you're crisscrossing the country, running into people from time to time their lives are being changed by something that you did. You were filling up a heater or popping up a pop-up tent or putting up the signs or shipping ice or whatever. And it's like, okay, so my little piece I did in this project, that made it happen. It was worth it. It was worth it. And so I think that is the one thing that's happened for me that just continued to encourage me to move forward and to keep making projects. And I would love to get more and more of that if I could. And it's kind of a selfish thing. It is kind of a selfish thing because it's like you're wanting your heart to get filled back up so you're ready to keep going, so that you can pour into other people's hearts. But it's like I just love it. It's usually, again, on like the worst day. Everything is going wrong, and you run into this person. I ran into these two guys at a car dealership, and for the next like 15 minutes, we just stood in the car dealership parking lot and talked about faith and friends and family and love, and like, wow, I was not expecting this, but I needed it. Thank you, Lord. So.
That's fantastic. I love hearing that. I love those moments when God just does that. When I have the worst day ever, when I am completely frustrated and he's just like, bam, here you go. This is exactly what you needed. What about you, Jeremy?
There was a moment, there's a couple, I want to touch base on one for sure. There's a moment where we're filming in Burleson, Texas. We're on a lake and we're trying to film a boat scene. The whole day was so foggy. I mean, we were expecting it to clear out by 11 o'clock. And then it was, it's going to get pushed back to 2 o'clock. Well, then, 3 o'clock comes around and it's still cloudy. Well, we're running out of daylight. We're almost done. I remember Dallas and them take off to go back to base camp, and they're trying to figure out what we're going to do. Are we going to call it a day? Are we going to, move somewhere else, try to film something else? Long story short, Dallas talks about this as well. I believe he was like 1 minute from like, okay, you know what? We're going to call it a day. At this point, we're already loading up our stuff because we're kind of preparing for it to be called. 30 seconds go by. Wind picks up, 15-mile-an-hour winds. Our tents can barely stand up. Boom. 30 minutes later, it's, okay. 5 minutes later, probably 40 minutes after that, fog was completely gone. Absolutely. I don't know what happened. We're scrambling. We're getting our stuff back together. They ended up turning a whole day worth of film into 4 hours and getting everything they needed. That's just one example of the divine intervention that you speak of God changing things and allowing us to be able to work. So I always joke with Dallas and I tell him, I went in the trees and I did a rain dance and tried to clear out the fog for you guys. But it wasn't me. That's divine intervention. It was actually something that, like I said, it was God. He's just, hey, you know what? He knew we needed to get it done. He knew we were short timed, and he made it happen. So that's one moment that there's multiple on this I could give you examples of. We don't have enough time for that, but that's one that I really stand with. I want to touch base with what Austin said. When people see and find out that you're a part of the chosen and the way that they just light up, that is it's fantastic. Even if we do like certain things that other people do more or less of, like just being a part of it in any aspect is just, it's a fulfillment to your heart. And you cannot experience that any other way unless you just experience it for real. We can sit here and tell you about it, but until you're a part of it, then you're not fully going to grasp the gratitude that comes with it for sure. So to everybody that watches The Chosen and reaches out to us, thank you for making us feel, like we're a part of your life, and that's why we do what we do for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for filling us back up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, Jeremy, you can attest this. At the end of the show, it's like you've left it all there. It's like there is no reserve. You've worked your 12, 14, 16, 18-hour day, whatever it is, and you've done it for, in some instances, I've done it for like 6-8 months straight. You're exhausted, and there is nothing left in you. And then when the fans are able to kind of turn around and, for that 5, 10, 15 minutes that you get to chat with them, they light up. It kind of helps fill you back up in a way, keeps you moving forward so that you can keep working and doing your thing. It is a huge,
forgive me, Austin, but I want to talk about one instance that happened with me and Willie in Utah. We were there filming the Christmas special, and I remember washing clothes at the laundromat, and I'm sitting there, and one gentleman just looking at me, and he's like, you're not from here. What do you do? Where are you? And then kind of told him about what we were doing. And I mentioned, he's like, well, can you tell me what you're filming? I was like, well, we're working on a special for The Chosen. That's all I could say at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He instantly said, oh my gosh, The Chosen. He said, man, our church has just been showing that every week they show an episode of The Chosen. Long story short, this guy was a homeless guy who didn't have anything, lived in his car, and he cooked breakfast every single morning for the church and for all of the other homeless people. So it's Gateway Church in Provo, Utah. They basically open their doors every Sunday for every single homeless person to come get fed, come grab food, come grab clothing, whatever it is they need. So this is an example of how God works. He made an introduction between me and this gentleman where we washed clothes at this, and then basically invited me and Willie. So me and Willie ended up going to the church, and I'm in my Chosen sweater. The guy like lights up like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you guys came. He had already told the pastor about us and our work with the Chosen and what we were doing there. And I've never experienced walking into a church where there's 15 homeless people outside and they're braiding each other's hair and they're just bathing and they're just talking all at the same time. The preacher's up there preaching the gospel. Like, it was just an incredible experience. I think to this day, even if you eventually talk to Willie will tell you about this moment. It's just, it's an attest to what you said, Austin, man. That feeling, just being a part of it and just having people light up just because you work on The Chosen. Like, that's so powerful. That's the only thing I can say. It's just powerful. It's a beautiful thing.
That is so great. Praise the Lord. I am so just thrilled to hear that. Our last question is from Facebook, from someone named Sharon Dean Middleton. And she says, question for all. Has being a part of this project changed your view on how you read the Bible or hear Bible stories? Has it become more real or alive for you?
I can say yes. They're more relatable people now. It's more fun in a sense to read the Bible and then in a weird way envision Noah's face or envision Yoshi's face, or like envision the actors, because that's what I'm so associated with now, that like it makes it in a sense more relatable just because I know these people on a personal aspect. So it just makes it more personal for me. I don't know about Austin, but for sure I feel like it also makes it clear and more understanding. Like it's easier to understand once I watch the show of how the words, because sometimes the Bible's hard to read, and if you don't, you have to piece it together sometimes. Well, the show helps with that. So I think that's what makes it a lot easier and better for me, for sure.
That's great. Austin?
Yeah. I think when you have different interactions with the word, when I say interactions, like, you've read it, you've listened to it, you've seen it acted out, you've listened to it in music, right? You've seen paintings or sculptures, right? But when you're a part of the character and the story development and the people that are a part of telling that story, it becomes a little bit more personal, because now you see their faces instead of either no face or a generic face that you put on this person in your mind. And so, I think, and you see it more as not something that happened, but something that is happening.
That's
the story, right? The story. I think it's easy to look at the story and go, "Oh, that did happen more than 2,000 years ago," instead of looking at it and going, "That's still happening. It's just playing out differently now." And it's not being chronicalized in a big book and being sent around the country. This is still happening. The message is still happening. The story is still happening, and it's happening in different ways for different people.
Yeah.
And so to understand that, and then be able to take that and meet people where they are in their lives, and just leave a door open for them or plant a seed if they're not ready. And that door will either be open or hopefully that seed is grown when they are ready. So, yeah.
That is so great. And I think just like what you said, that it's not something that has just happened, but it's still happening. And you took it one way when you said that it struck me is when I read in the Word about all these people and the things that they went through and their faults and their struggles and their highs and lows, just like we see on The Chosen, it's still happening because it's happening in me. My unbelief, my sin, my victory when the Lord comes through with something that I needed. That's all happening with us right now. So I just love the way that you put that. That was amazing.
Good job.
That was
it's not done. The story is not done. The story is still happening.
Yes, that is great. So with that being said, that is all of our questions for today. I want to thank you both for coming on here for this episode of Chatting with The Chosen. If you like this video, please make sure to let us know at Against the Tide Media, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Come on in, jump in the water. Not all trouble with a mess you've been. Walk on the water.
Hey everyone, it's Bennett, founder of Against the Tide Media. Got a quick favor to ask that is as fast as the click of a button. If you're a fan of The Chosen and ATTM special content on this channel, you can easily show your support by liking this video, clicking subscribe, and the notification bell. You'll be one of the first to know when new videos are released. This will help us continue to grow and spread our message to the world through interviews and other special features such as Zoom rooms, chatting with The Chosen, 53 Questions with Raina, and Talking Back with Tara and Barb. Actually, only 12% of our viewers are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Only 12%, meaning that almost 90% are not, and I'd love for you to join us in helping The Chosen, along with other Christian entertainment, to reach as many people as possible, and it really helps so much. Thank you so much for all of your incredible support, and remember, like, subscribe, notification bell. Thank you again.
Let me find, can I get it to myself? Show myself. Yay! Okay. So to hear that firsthand from you guys, that is great. I'm actually getting a notification that Noah Bennett is wanting to come into the chat. So I'm going to let him in for a minute and say hi.
For sure.
Let's see. Is he on here? Come on, Noah. Noah, where are you at?
Can you hear him?
Okay.
Psych.
While he's getting on here, I'm going to ask my next question. And if he interrupts it, that's okay, because we're all just making our way through this.
There he is.
There we go.
There he is. Okay. Hey, Noah.
Hey, Noah.
Hey, I'm sorry, am I interrupting something?
We were just in the middle of something.
Hey, they only said there was going to be one male with long hair on this interview. I got to go now. I got to go. We can't have that, Noah.
Really?
Beautiful hair, man. Long hair gang.
Oh, thanks. Yes. This is the. You've got nice. For yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I like my long hair. I like to keep
Awesome.
You pull it off very well.
Well, we are. What you got going on, Noah?
Oh, were you actually in the middle of the interview now? Or?
We were. We actually got started pretty early.
Oh, you got enough fan questions and everything, and
yeah,
the recording's going good. And okay, goodbye. Looking forward to seeing this. Thank you all so much.
Okay,
Have
I'm
a good
sorry.
day, man. Have a good day.
Bye.
Take care.
That's awesome.
All right.
Looking forward to seeing this. Thank you all.
Okay.
It's great.
Noah Bennett, everyone.
Noah Bennett.
He better use that.
Yeah, he better. Okay. I'm going to let Austin go first. He's sitting there contemplating.
Yeah. Well, I've had a few. Well, okay. So this may seem strange.